My Lord, forgive me, for I have sinned. It has been a lifetime since my last true confession. Not since the days of my youth, when sins were simple, tangible things, a fleeting thought, a hasty word, a youthful transgression easily named and perhaps more easily absolved. But the sins I bring to you now, Father, they are not of the flesh, nor of overt rebellion against the statutes. They are woven into the very fabric of my being, born not of weakness, but of a terrible, crushing clarity. I come before you not as King Solomon, the wise, the builder of temples, the ruler of a golden age. That man is but a hollow echo, a gilded cage. I come as a man utterly spent, burdened by a truth so profound, so inescapable, that it has withered my soul to dust. The weight of my crown, Father, is nothing compared to the weight of my understanding. And it is that understanding, that divine gift, which has become my most exquisite torment. My very wisdom, the blessing bestowed upon me by the Almighty, has proven to be the most insidious of curses. I asked for wisdom, Father, a simple, earnest prayer from a young king overwhelmed by
the immensity of his task. I desired the discernment to judge my people, to distinguish between right and wrong. And God, in his infinite generosity, granted it to me in abundance, more than any man before or since. And he was true to his word. The wisdom flowed into me, not as a gentle stream, but as an overwhelming deluge, stripping away the comforting illusions, tearing down the veil that separates understanding from the harsh, unvarnished reality of existence. It was not a light to guide my path, Father, but a blinding sun that revealed every shadow, every speck of dust, every fleeting, insignificant detail of the universe, and in doing so, illuminated the horrifying, inescapable truth that all is vanity. Every striving, every ambition, every love, every grand design, all of it utterly meaningless, destined for the same inevitable oblivion. I saw it, Father. I saw it in the tireless efforts of men to build their kingdoms, to amass their wealth. They toiled from dawn till dusk, their brows furrowed with purpose, their hands calloused from their labors, believing they were crafting something enduring. But with the wisdom granted to me, I saw the erosion of time, the inevitable decay that awaited every stone, every edifice, every legacy. I built the temple, a marvel of the world, adorned with gold and precious stones, a testament to God's glory and my own devotion. But even as the last cedar beam was laid, even as the smoke of the burnt offerings ascended, my soul whispered to me, vanity. This magnificent structure, this symbol of eternal covenant, would one day crumble. Its grandeur would be forgotten, its purpose distorted, its very stones scattered by the winds of history. And what then? What was the point of the sweat, the sacrifice, the divine inspiration, if its ultimate fate was dust? This gnawing awareness, this relentless foresight, devoured any joy I might have found in my accomplishments. Every triumph felt like a prelude to its own dissolution. And wealth, Father, oh, the untold riches that flowed into Jerusalem. Gold from Ophir, spices from Sheba, precious jewels from distant lands. My court glittered with unparalleled opulence.
I had more silver than stones, more cedars than sycamores. I indulged in every conceivable luxury. I had servants beyond counting, chariots and horses beyond measure. I thought, perhaps, in the sheer accumulation of material splendor, I might find a solace, a distraction loud enough to drown out the incessant whisper of futility.
I built magnificent palaces, cultivated vast gardens, created fountains of flowing waters. I surrounded myself with every earthly delight. But with each new acquisition, each new extravagance, the emptiness within me only grew. The gold felt cold and heavy, not joyful. The silks were just cloth, the feasts a fleeting taste. The wisdom showed me the true nature of these treasures. They were but transient baubles, incapable of touching the soul, incapable of altering the fundamental truth of existence. A king on his throne, adorned in purple and gold, is no less susceptible to the worm than the lowliest beggar. The grave swallows all, regardless of their earthly possessions. And knowing this, truly knowing it in the marrow of my bones, made the pursuit of wealth not a source of pride, but a grotesque, elaborate charade, a dance of shadows in the fading light. And pleasure, Father, my heart in its desperate search for meaning, for a moment of genuine oblivion, turned to pleasure with a frantic, insatiable hunger. I amassed wives and concubines, 1,000 women from every nation, each a unique tapestry of beauty and allure. I sought solace in their embrace, in the fleeting ecstasy of their presence. I thought, surely in the depths of human connection,
In the intoxicating rush of physical intimacy, I might find a reprieve from the crushing weight of my knowledge. I bought musicians, singers, dancers from every corner of my empire. My banquets were legendary, my revelries endless. Wine flowed like rivers, laughter echoed through my halls. I pursued every sensation, every thrill, every fleeting delight the world could offer. But each embrace, no matter how fervent, left me colder. Each song, no matter how sweet, faded into silence, leaving behind only the echo of my own desolate thoughts. The laughter was brittle, the wine tasted of ashes. For the wisdom, Father, revealed the ephemeral nature of all pleasure. It is a fleeting spark, quickly extinguished, leaving behind only the cold darkness. It does not fill the void, it merely highlights its immensity. And in the arms of 1,000 women, I found only 1,000 reflections of my own unbearable loneliness, a loneliness born not of solitude, but of a profound existential isolation. How can one truly connect when one sees the ultimate dissolution of every bond, every feeling, every memory? How can one truly love when one knows that even the most passionate devotion is but a transient flicker in the vast, indifferent cosmos? My wives, my concubines,
They were not the objects of my lust, but the instruments of my desperate quest for a silence to my mind, a clamor loud enough to drown out the truth. They were a frantic, deliberate search for distraction, a superstitious hope that perhaps in their foreign customs, their different gods, I might find a loophole, a hidden meaning, a secret that my own God-given wisdom had overlooked. It was not betrayal born of weakness, but a desperate, calculated gamble against an unbearable reality. Even knowledge itself, Father, the very thing I prayed for, became a source of endless sorrow. For in much wisdom is much grief, I wrote, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. These were not mere poetic pronouncements. They were the raw, bleeding truths of my very being. The more I understood of the natural world, the movements of the stars, the growth of plants, the behavior of animals, the more I saw the intricate, beautiful, yet ultimately cyclical and repetitive nature of all things. Nothing truly new under the sun. Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. It was a grand, cosmic treadmill, perfectly designed, perfectly executed, yet utterly devoid of ultimate purpose beyond its own perpetual motion. Every discovery, every insight into the mechanisms of creation only served to reinforce the unbearable sense of repetition and futility. It was as if I was given the blueprint of the universe, only to find that the blueprint itself was a design for meaninglessness. My sin, Father, was not the conventional sins of men. It was not the indulgence of lust, though I indulged. It was not the worship of idols, though I allowed their altars to stand in my kingdom, and even bowed before some in my desperate search for a different truth. No. My sin was the despair that this omniscience caused. It was the crushing weight of understanding that rendered all human effort, all human ambition, all human love ultimately pointless. My true transgression was the profound, existential despondency that settled upon my soul, a despondency so complete that it poisoned every wellspring of joy, every flicker of hope. I saw the end,
Every beginning, the decay of every creation, the forgetting of every memory. And seeing this, how could I not despair? How could I find meaning in a world that revealed itself as a grand, fleeting illusion? The gift of wisdom, it stripped me bare, leaving me exposed to the cold, indifferent gaze of eternity. It was a knowledge that consumed rather than enlightened. It was a curse wrapped in the guise of a blessing. I sought distraction, Father, not out of a desire for evil, but out of a desperate, primal need to silence the truth that God had forced me to see. My foreign wives, their strange gods, their noisy rituals, they were a desperate gamble. Perhaps, I thought, in the cacophony of their pagan rites, in the fervent belief in their multitudinous deities, I might find a superstition, a pleasure, an earthly clamor loud enough to drown out the unbearable, chilling whisper of vanity. Vanity, all is vanity. I needed noise, Father. I needed a distraction so overwhelming, so utterly consuming that it would momentarily eclipse the crushing awareness that nothing under the sun truly matters. I tried to fill the void with everything, with women, with wine, with song, with power, with knowledge, with building,
with honor, with legacy. But the void remained, vast and echoing, a testament to the ultimate emptiness of all earthly pursuits when viewed through the lens of absolute truth. And my greatest torment, Father, was not the burden of kingship, nor the demands of my people, nor the machinations of my enemies. My greatest torment was having to reign over an empire of vanities, knowing that my own heart, the heart of the wisest man on earth, was the emptiest of all. To stand at the pinnacle of human achievement, surrounded by unprecedented glory, and to know with absolute certainty that it was all a fleeting shadow, a puff of smoke, a whisper in the wind. This knowledge, this profound, unshakable certainty was the furnace in which my soul was refined, not into gold, but into ash.
My son, you speak of a profound desolation, a vision of futility that seems to eclipse the very light of God's presence. You lament the burden of wisdom, seeing it as a curse. But could it be, my son, that the wisdom itself is not the curse, but rather your interpretation of it? You speak of seeing the end of all things, the decay, the oblivion. But did this profound vision also reveal the beginning? Did it reveal the hand that crafted the universe, the enduring spirit that breathes life into all creation, even into the fleeting? You speak of the futility of human effort, of building, of love, of pleasure. But is the value of a thing solely in its permanence, or in its very existence, however brief? Is the warmth of a fire less real because it eventually burns out? Is the beauty of a flower less profound because it withers? And what of the purpose of these things beyond their transient form? Is it not possible that the purpose lies not in the what, but in the how and in the why? You sought distraction, clamor to silence the truth. But what if the truth you sought to silence was not the ultimate vanity of all things, but the uncomforting yet necessary realization of your own soul's rebellion against the very nature of existence as God intended it? To see only the end, my son, is to miss the journey. To lament the dust is to forget the breath that animates it. Your wisdom, you say, showed you that nothing under the sun matters. But did it show you what lies beyond the sun? Did it reveal the eternal, forgetting the divine purpose that transcends the transient? Or did your despair blind you to the very source of the wisdom itself?
Beyond the sun, Father? What lies beyond the sun but the vast, cold indifference of the cosmos? My wisdom, if it was truly from God, showed me the mechanics of creation, not its ultimate, comforting purpose. It showed me the infinite cycle of birth and death, of growth and decay, a grand, intricate dance that leads precisely nowhere. You speak of the journey, of the how and the why. But when the destination is known to be oblivion, when every step is merely a delayed approach to the inevitable, how can the journey hold any meaning? It becomes a cruel charade, an elaborate play performed for an empty theater. You ask if my despair blinded me to the source of wisdom. No, Father, it was the wisdom itself that caused the despair. It was the direct, unvarnished truth of God's own design, revealed with such devastating clarity, that broke me. To understand the intricate beauty of the human body, the marvel of its functions, only to know that it is destined to rot, to become food for worms, that is not a comforting truth, Father. That is
A horrifying one. To witness the blossoming of love, the tender affections between two souls, and to know with chilling certainty that it will end, either by death or by the erosion of time, that its memories will fade, that its very essence will be lost to the winds. That is the knowledge that hollows the soul. You speak of the enduring spirit, Father. I felt that spirit. I was filled with it. It was that spirit that granted me this accursed sight. And what did it show me? A universe governed by laws of entropy, of decay, of consumption. a grand design where everything consumes everything else, only to be consumed in turn. The lion eats the lamb, the worm eats the lion, the earth swallows the worm. And then what? More lions, more lambs, more worms, more earth, a perpetual motion machine of meaninglessness. This is what my wisdom revealed. This is the truth that screamed in my ears, louder than any earthly pleasure, any kingly triumph. And you suggest I misinterpreted it? How does one misinterpret the undeniable, the self-evident? When the very air you breathe tastes of dust, when every song is a dirge for what will be lost, when every face you see is already a skull beneath the skin. How does one find joy or purpose or enduring hope? My search for distraction was not a rebellion, Father, but a desperate act of self-preservation. It was a king, drowning in the ocean of truth, frantically grasping at any straw, any piece of flotsam to stay afloat for another moment, to delay the inevitable submergence into the cold, dark depths of ultimate insignificance. The temple, Father, was meant to be a beacon of God's glory, but to me it became a monument to fleeting grandeur. I saw the future, not in prophecy, but in the logical conclusion of all things. I saw the cracks in the walls before the mortar was dry. I heard the whispers of invaders before their armies were even formed. I felt the cold hand of oblivion, even as the incense burned. This is not a blessing, Father. This is a perpetual torment. It is to live in a world where every sunrise is merely a countdown to another sunset, where every birth is a herald of death, where every peak is merely a prelude to a valley. And to be a king in such a world, to be tasked with leading a people, with dispensing justice, with building a legacy, when you know with absolute certainty that it is all a charade, a fleeting illusion, that is a torture beyond words. My heart, my soul, they shriveled under the relentless gaze of this truth. And the 1,000 women, the foreign gods, the endless revelries, they were not acts of defiant sin, but desperate, pitiful attempts to find a single moment of genuine ignorance, a single moment where the truth would be silent, where I could simply be without the crushing weight of knowing. But the silence never came. The clamor only amplified the emptiness. You speak of God's purpose, Father, beyond the transient. I sought it. Oh, how I sought it. I delved into the scriptures. I pondered the mysteries. I communed with the wisest men of my age. But the wisdom God gave me, it was analytical, dissecting, revealing the mechanisms, but not the ultimate, comforting meaning. It showed me the clockwork, but not the divine intent that would make the ceaseless ticking worthwhile. It was as if I was given the ability to see every single thread in a vast tapestry, to understand how each thread was woven, its material, its dye, its tension, but never to grasp the overall image,
the ultimate purpose of the tapestry itself. And without that ultimate purpose, Father, all the intricate beauty of the individual threads, all the painstaking effort of the weaving becomes vanity. A magnificent display of skill, perhaps, but ultimately meaningless. This is the horror of my wisdom. It did not bring me closer to God in a comforting way, but rather revealed a God whose purposes were so vast, so utterly beyond human comprehension,
that they rendered all human striving, all human joy, all human sorrow, utterly insignificant in comparison. And to live with that knowledge, Father, to reign with that knowledge, to love with that knowledge, it is to live as a ghost among the living, a mere observer in a play whose ending is already known and is always the same: dust. My grief is not for the sins I committed in my despair, Father. My grief is for the despair itself, which was, in essence, a gift from God. How do I repent of a truth that was revealed to me? How do I seek forgiveness for a burden that was placed upon my shoulders by divine hand? My true torment was being forced to reign over a kingdom of fleeting joys and transient sorrows, knowing that my own heart, the heart that was given the gift of ultimate discernment, was the emptiest of all. For it was filled not with the love of God, not with the joy of creation, not with the hope of redemption, but with the cold, hard, unyielding truth of universal futility.
My son, I hear the depth of your anguish, the profound burden you carry. It is a unique suffering, indeed, for a king blessed with such extraordinary wisdom. You speak of the futility of all things under the sun, a truth you believe God Himself revealed to you, leading you to despair. Yet, my son, even in the very scriptures you yourself are said to have penned, there is a counterpoint. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This duty, this purpose, transcends the fleeting. It is not about the permanence of the brick, but the obedience in laying it. It is not about the longevity of love, but the act of loving itself. Perhaps, my son, the wisdom was not meant to reveal the absence of meaning, but the location of true meaning. It is not found in the ephemeral, but in the eternal. Not in the pursuit of earthly
pleasure, but in the pursuit of righteousness. Not in the accumulation of wealth, but in the stewardship of God's gifts. Your despair, my son, might be the very veil that prevents you from seeing the enduring purpose that underlies the transient. The gift of wisdom, if truly divine, is meant to draw you closer to the divine, not to push you into the abyss of meaninglessness. Could it be that your frantic search for distraction, your turning to foreign gods and endless pleasure, was not merely a reaction to despair, but a turning away from the very source of true solace? A solace that would have illuminated the path beyond the vanity you so clearly perceived.
Father, you speak of duty, of fearing God, of keeping His commandments. I did. I built His temple. I upheld His law. I judged His people with the wisdom He bestowed upon me. But it was in the very act of upholding, of judging, of building, that the futility became most stark. For what is duty when the ultimate outcome of all actions is not? What is righteousness when the righteous and the wicked alike face the same end? For what happens to the children of man and what happens to beasts is
The same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath, and man has no advantage over the beasts, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and to dust all return. These are my words, Father, born not of cynicism, but of brutal, inescapable observation. This is the truth that gnaws at my soul. The location of true meaning, you say? I sought it in every corner of my vast dominion, in every scroll of ancient knowledge, in every philosophical debate.
and the deeper I delved, the clearer it became. There is no enduring meaning under the sun. You suggest my despair is a veil. Father, it is no veil. It is the brutal light of day, stripping away all illusions. It is the clarity that blinds. The wisdom did not draw me closer to a comforting divine. It revealed a divine whose plan was so grand, so utterly incomprehensible to mortal understanding that it rendered all human striving utterly insignificant. To know that God is eternal, infinite, all-powerful, and yet to see his creation as a fleeting shadow play, a cosmic joke, a momentary flicker in the vast, cold expanse of eternity. That, Father, is the
True terror. My turning away, as you call it, was not a rejection of God, but a desperate, frantic search for a counter-narrative, a different truth, a whisper of hope that my divine wisdom had somehow overlooked. I sought solace in the clamor of other gods, not because I believed in them, but because I yearned for their comforting, finite limitations, their human-like passions, their promise of tangible rewards or punishments. Anything, Father, anything to escape the crushing, infinite indifference that my own God-given wisdom revealed. I pursued pleasure not out of a desire for sin, but out of a desperate need for a moment of blissful ignorance, a fleeting oblivion from the truth that haunted my every waking moment and invaded my dreams. My wisdom showed me the intricate beauty of a spider's web, the perfect geometry of a snowflake, the precise orbit of a star. But it also showed me the spider devoured, the snowflake melted, the star eventually collapsing into darkness. And what, then, is the point of the perfection if its ultimate fate is dissolution? This is not a matter of interpretation, Father. This is the stark, unyielding reality that my mind, supernaturally attuned, was forced to confront. The value, you say, is in
existence, however brief. But what value is there in a fleeting existence when the awareness of its brevity, its ultimate insignificance, is constant and overwhelming? It is like being given a magnificent meal, but being forced to watch it decay before your very eyes, knowing that every bite is merely a step towards its ultimate putrefaction. How can one savor the taste when the stench of decay is already in one's nostrils? And my duties as king, Father? To rule over a kingdom, to judge disputes, to build for the future, when I knew, with every fiber of my being, that the future was merely a repetition of the past, destined for the same inevitable oblivion? It was a performance, a grand charade. I dispensed justice, knowing that justice itself was a fleeting human construct against the backdrop of cosmic indifference. I built, knowing that all my structures would crumble. I led, knowing that all leaders, all kingdoms, all empires would eventually fade into dust and be forgotten. My greatest torment was this profound irony: to be hailed as the wisest man, the most blessed of kings, and to know that my very wisdom was the source of my deepest, most inconsolable despair. My heart, Father, is not merely
empty. It is a vast, echoing chasm carved out by the very truth God showed me. It is a void that no earthly pleasure, no amount of gold, no human love, no grand achievement could ever hope to fill. It is the void of ultimate meaninglessness. And I live in it, Father, perpetually. This is my confession. This is my burden.
My son, your words paint a chilling landscape of desolation, a testament to a wisdom that has indeed become a heavy cross. You speak of truth, of brutal reality, of an unavoidable clarity that reveals only futility.
And yet, even in your profound despair, there is a yearning, a desperate search for meaning, for a silence from the truth you find unbearable. This very yearning, my son, is a testament to something within you that resists the ultimate embrace of meaninglessness. It is a flicker of the divine spark that God placed within all men, a spark that cries out for purpose, for connection, for eternity, even when the mind, overwhelmed by observation, declares all to be vanity. Perhaps the wisdom was not given to show you that nothing matters, but to show you that only God matters, that all things under the sun are indeed fleeting, so that your gaze and the gaze of all who had listened to your wisdom would be lifted above the sun. The temple, though it may crumble, served its purpose in its time, as a place for man to seek the eternal. Your reign, though it will pass, served its purpose in establishing a covenant and a kingdom. Your wisdom, though it torments you, has left a legacy of profound truth, even if that truth is painful. The pursuit of pleasure, the accumulation of wealth, the building of empires, these are indeed vanity when they become the ultimate pursuit. But when they are seen as merely temporary instruments, tools in the hands of a fleeting life, to be used in service of something greater, then their vanity is not their curse, but their definition. They are not meant to be eternal. Only God is. Nature of earthly life, not as a curse, but as an opportunity to live each fleeting moment in reverence and service to the eternal. My son, your wisdom has led you to the precipice of despair. But the very edge of that precipice can also be the point from which one turns back, or from which one finally looks up. The silence you seek, the peace you crave, may not be found in the clamor of distraction, but in the quiet acceptance of your place in God's vast and, yes, sometimes incomprehensible plan. Your confession, though born of deep suffering, is itself an act of seeking, an act of turning. And in that turning, there is always hope.
Hope, Father? After a lifetime steeped in this relentless, all-consuming truth, hope feels like another vanity, a comforting illusion spun by the mind to avoid the stark reality. You speak of lifting my gaze above the sun, of embracing insignificance as a path to peace. But how does one embrace insignificance when every fiber of one's being, every thought, every aspiration is a desperate, futile struggle against it? My wisdom has not merely shown me that all things under the sun are fleeting, it has shown me that the very act
of caring about them is a foolish endeavor, a tragic waste of the precious, brief spark of life we are granted. To know that all joy will turn to sorrow, all love to loss, all effort to dust, and then to be told to embrace that, to find peace in that insignificance. It is a profound contradiction, a cruelty. I confess my despair, Father. I confess the frantic, desperate search for distraction that led me to the very edges of idolatry and excess. But I cannot confess to a sin of will, a deliberate turning away from God, when my heart cries out that it was God's own gift that led me to this precipice. My wisdom, it was a double-edged sword. It gave me the power to build a glorious kingdom, but it simultaneously revealed the inherent meaninglessness of that very act. It allowed me to see the intricate beauty of God's creation, but also the relentless, indifferent cycle of decay that governs it, and to reign over an empire of vanities, knowing that my own heart was the emptiest of all, filled only with the chilling echo of all is vanity.
That is a burden I shall carry until the dust reclaims me. Perhaps, Father, even
This confession, this pouring out of my burdened soul, is but another fleeting act, another whisper in the wind, destined to be forgotten, another vanity. And yet, here I am. For what else is there to do when all is vanity but to speak the truth of that vanity, and perhaps, in that speaking, find a fleeting, momentary solace, or perhaps just another echo.
Go in peace, my son. May the Lord, in his infinite mercy, grant you the peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that transcends even the profound wisdom he has bestowed upon you. May he illuminate the path beyond the sun, where vanity ceases to hold sway, and where true meaning, eternal and unending, awaits. Amen.